you.
Good to see you. All right, thank you everyone for being here. I'm Sam Tenney, the something with Fidelis Wealth Advisors. Can you hear me okay? Good. I am glad we could have you all here on the warmest day of winter, coldest day of winter so far. And our Fidelis team is very grateful you braved the weather to come out here. I want to let you know that we have food over here and drinks, and the coffee and hot chocolate bar is open, and Derek Booth is covering the tab on it today. So anyway, not really, but we've got it covered. And so order drinks, and that'll be open the whole time we're here. I want to introduce Amy Mays with the Happy Crew. This is her organization, and just know that she has had 75 kids at her house every Monday night for many, many years. And Amy Mays.
Thanks. Hi, man. Oh, Sam, you're stuck. Huh. Hi, I just want to welcome you. Thank you so much for coming up to Happy Crew Coffee House. I hope it wasn't too hard to find the elevator. Otherwise, you've had to work out for the entire weekend walking up those steps. We're just happy to have you. Happy Crew is a nonprofit in Colorado, and our mission statement is to destigmatize mental health for teenagers and to end teen suicide, because teen suicide is the #1 reason for death of teenagers in our county. The #1. And our kids report twice the national average of depression in Douglas County. So we're here, and we really appreciate you, because today you are all surrounding them. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Jess is our manager of the shop. She's awesome. You can raise your hand and I'll run an order to her over to her. And we will have a student barista coming up in about a half an hour. So thanks for being here.
Amy's got a great heart. All right, I'd like to bring up our Fidelis team. So introduce everyone. So come on up. So I'm just going to actually hand the microphone to them and let them introduce themselves. We've got a great team, and I love them, and I'm very grateful for them. So go ahead, Rilee.
We're grateful for you. Hey y'all, I'm Rilee. I am the remote advisor here at Fidelis. I actually live in Wyoming. I am one of the advisors here. I do the fair share of the trading here at Fidelis. Unless it's something bad, then it's Sam. I'm also the self-proclaimed funny one that keeps Sam in line here at Fidelis. So yeah, that's me. I have 2 beautiful little boys. We're a wrestling family, outdoor family. Yeah, so it's nice to meet y'all. And then I'm going to give a shout out to our admin, Tina. She's in the back running the live cast. She came on in May, and honestly, you guys, she's changed our lives. She's the best human, and we're so happy to have her with us. So thank you.
And she must be shy, because I guess she's not coming up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rilee Erickson. I'm one of the advisors here at Fidelis. Been here the past 4 years. Started as an intern and kind of worked my way up. Many of you may know me from working with your 401k retirement plans. Some of you may know me from working just, on the individual wealth side of things. But we're so excited to have you here today, and we're looking forward to this discussion.
Hi, John Van Sant. I'm the newest addition to the team. I just started in August. I grew up in Colorado, but 4 years ago we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, mostly because of days like this. So, but yeah, welcome, and I'm excited to be part of the team.
Thanks, John.
Hello, I'm Travis Wall. I know Sam because he's my brother-in-law. I was with the Bureau for 20 years as a special agent. I worked a lot of complex financial crimes and retired and really wanted to do this. Sam made a spot for me right now. We live in Texas, out in the country. Love it. My wife's here, she loves it too. And I'm glad to be here as well.
We'll try and get Travis off the tractor. Sarah, come on up. Sarah is not a full-time part of the team, but she's our, I'll let you.
Hi, everyone. I own Goodwin Impact Communications, where I work with mostly small businesses and nonprofits on developing and executing strategic communications plans, which we're doing with Fidelis currently. Sam and I met a couple of years ago. We were both on the board of directors for the Douglas County Community Foundation, and even though he left the board about a year ago, we have remained in contact. So I was really excited to come to work with Fidelis and work with the stellar team that they have here. So
Thanks, Sarah. So if you notice that our communication has increased the last 6 months, Sarah's great. I'm gonna, you okay if I say? David Hart, you can raise your hand. David Hart is our outsourced CFO. David Hart's been with me for about 1.5 years and has been an advocate for me as the business owner and is an incredibly smart guy. And I would have him come up here and introduce himself, but I didn't give him any notice about this. We also have Gracie that works with us, and she has a common last name, my last name. Anyway, what else? Okay, so I am going to turn the next 15, 20 minutes over to Jeff Bullock. Jeff Bullock is part of our team. He's a consultant for us. He's with Cedarwood Wealth Management. He lives in Highlands Ranch. Known him for a long, long time and highly respect him. He sits on our investment committee, and he's going to give us a market and economic outlook. We did this recently about 3 or 4 months ago with a foundation that we helped, and had a billionaire in the room and some really smart guys, and Jeff's really good at what he does. So glad to have him. Come on up, Jeff. Do you want this? Yeah, I'll take it.
Myself a little slack slides. All right. It's great to be here. Sam and I have known each other a while. Worked together for about 5 years going on. Can't believe it's been that long, and grateful to be here to kind of give an economic investment overview. I'm going to go for about kind of 12, 15 minutes, and you can ask any questions you want, whether it's about investments or about the economy. I'll just kind of give you my overview. We're going to use slides from JP Morgan publishes a great just investment deck. It's publicly available. So if you like the slides and you want to see a lot of data, we can get this to you. We'll just do a quick, before I jump in, a quick 2025 overview. What happened last year, both in the economy and in markets? So in markets, it was good, right? Stock market was up again for the 3rd straight year. Bond market was finally up after a couple of years of being down. Everything really worked. Stock market's been up for 3 straight years now after the 2022 dip. 2022 is kind of based off of the Ukraine war and inflation getting high. The dollar continues to devalue. That does play into the type of investments we go into. Inflation's still a little sticky, but by and large, the economy, we would say we are optimistic. Things are looking good, and we'll kind of get into why as well. This slide I love. Don't pay attention to the red dots. Just look at the gray bars, right? These are stock market returns going back 45 years, right? So stock market has been a great place to be in for the last couple of decades. Last 3 years, as I said, have been up since the 2022 dip. But by and large, the theme for anything investments is invest for the long run, because that's what works. The stock market right now, we're in a unique situation that we haven't been in a really long time, and really maybe ever. And that is that the top 10 stocks in the market make up almost 50% of the actual size of the market. So that's what this gray bar is right here. So 41% of the stock market is just 10 companies. That's it. And it's never been that high going back 30, 35 years. Really what that means is that how those 10 companies fare really determines how your experience in investing fares. What are those 10 companies? These on the right, mainly tech companies, right? Apple, NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, Broadcom, right? You do have JP Morgan and Berkshire in there. What I find interesting about this chart, it shows the top 10 companies in the stock market every decade going back 5 decades. So you can see in the 80s, you had Kodak, you had Shell, you had AT&T, you had Exxon, you had a lot of oil companies, right? What's interesting is very rarely does a company stay in the top 10 over the course of 20 years. You do have some that do, but about every 10, 20 years, the leadership in the stock market changes because new technologies are created and the economy shifts and changes. And so the top 10 stocks that make up the economy today, only 3 of them were in the top 10 years ago, and none of them were in the top 10 20 years ago. So it's hard to kind of think about it, but in 10 or 20 years from now, Apple, Amazon, NVIDIA, these companies probably aren't going to be in the top 10. It's kind of crazy to think that, but that's just the way it trends because new technologies are created, new companies are created, and then they take over with investment. So just real interesting makeup of the market. Because of that, technology makes up almost 40% of the stock market. And so as technology goes, is sort of how the stock market goes, which is very different than it was in the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, right? Technology did not wag the tail of the stock market. It does today. And that's just really important to kind of have that conceptual background because that's just the world we're in today. It's a technology-driven world. As far as big picture goes, this is just a chart of GDP. So GDP, gross domestic product, just how we kind of measure if economies are growing or not. Really for the last 3+ years, we haven't had really any down quarters. We've had 1 or 2, but the economy is growing. Consumption is happening. Our economy, the US economy, is 70% consumption, right? Or in other words, you and me spending our money, right? So again, it's all about is our businesses making money? Are we spending money? And the answer is yes. Like we had a 4.3% quarter. That was one of the best quarters we've had in a really long time. How's the economy kind of underneath? We are, what I would say is we are back to normal, but normal feels abnormal because we have been in an abnormal state for the last 5 years. So this chart shows job openings, right? Job openings are still very high relative to history, but they've dropped dramatically relative to the last 5 years. So if you're comparing it to the last 5 years, it feels like, oh, there's not a lot of jobs out there. Maybe you know people who are unemployed. Maybe you know people who are looking for jobs. The economy does feel soft relative to where we've been the last 5 years. It's actually getting back to normal. Same thing with job hires. It's saying, oh, nobody's hiring out there. Well, that's a true statement kind of relative to the last 10 years, but relative to the last 40 years is actually normal, right? Of kind of where we're at.
Well, all the jobs that have been lost because of Trump's administration, how does that affect this?
I mean, we can get into details. I mean, this is just general trends of where the jobs are, right? I mean, jobs are being lost to AI. We're going to get into AI. Jobs are being lost, being shipped overseas, right? I mean, a lot of manufacturing jobs have been shipped overseas over the last 20, 30 years, right? And so this is just kind of big picture of where the job market is. And then down here, layoffs, right? Blue dot. Layoffs are the highest they've been really in 5, 6, 7 years, but it's really back to normal trend. So again, big picture, a lot of the underlying economic indicators show that we're back to quote unquote long-term normal, but it just feels, it might feel soft right now or feel different because it is different from the last 5 to 7 years. This is a picture of inflation. So, You don't really have to pay attention to all the different colors. All the different colors are the aspects of inflation, just the big bars. Inflation peaked in June of 2022. That was the last really bad year in the stock market whenever, inflation was going high, wars were happening, and the economy just really didn't do well. Since then, it's come down. Last reading a couple months ago was 2.7%. They really want to get it back to 2%. It's probably going to be stuck around 3%. It's just really hard mathematically to get it back. What's the difference between 2 and 3% inflation? That might not sound like a lot. It's a big difference. Prices double every 35 years at 2% inflation. At 3% inflation, they double every 20 years. So, and that you can feel that. We've all felt the pinch of inflation. If they don't get it down to 2, and when I say they, the Fed, the economy, there's a lot that goes into that. But our outlook is that inflation stays sticky. It's just really hard to get it. It was easy, quote unquote, it was easy to go from 9 to 3. It's going to be really hard to go from 3 to 2. So I would expect sticky inflation for a while. This is artificial intelligence, probably the #1 topic on Wall Street, the #1 topic if you kind of talk to anyone in the tech space, is what's going on with AI. This is investment in dollars in artificial intelligence by the top 5 kind of companies that are investing in it. That's Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Oracle. In 2024, they invested $240 billion into AI development. This year, they're expected to double that, $500 billion going into AI. AI is, you can say it's the new internet, it's the new whatever, but it's very real. And it's changing our economy. I use AI every single day to do my job. And right now, surveys show, I went too far, right here. Oh, it didn't translate well. You can't see it. This is supposed to be 17% kind of average businesses. Right now, 17% of businesses say they use AI in their business to help in their business operations. That's not a lot. We're in what, second inning, third inning of businesses adopting this, right? And we're going to be pouring trillions of dollars into development. Really, the big story right now is power, energy, right? There's not enough data centers. There's not enough power, literally not enough energy to produce the energy needed to do all of this artificial intelligence. So that's where you're going to run into issues in the next couple of years of development if it's going to keep going forward. But my prediction is we're going to look back in 10 years, 2035, and we're going to say, hey, 2035 compared to 2025, the world's going to look very, very different than if you say, what does the world look like today compared to 2015, right? The next 10 years of innovation are setting up to be really exciting, especially on the AI front. The only real soft spot we're seeing, this is sort of kind of consumer finances, household debt. Right here, early delinquencies. You look at delinquencies to see are people defaulting on their loans. The orange line is the only line that's kind of flashing red, kind of red flags that, and that's student loan debt. So those who have student loans are struggling to pay them back. All other debt service is not really flashing major red flags. So again, the economy in some places feels soft. I know the housing market feels soft. Job market feels a little soft. There's no major red flags from what the data says. It's just a hair soft. This is a kind of history of interest rates going back to the early 90s. Most of the ups and downs correlate with recessions, right? So right now, short-term interest rates are in the mid-3s. Right, mortgage rates are in the high 5s, low 6s. The question that I get very often when it comes to interest rates is, hey, when are mortgage rates going to come down? I don't think they're coming down anytime soon, right? They were kind of low 7s, and they've come down to low 6s. But interest rates on mortgages are based off of the 10-year Treasury. The 10-year Treasury is around 4.2%. The only way that is going down is if we have a massive recession, which none of us would want. So it's my opinion that mortgage rates are kind of going to stay sticky in the high 5s, low 6s for a while. Because even if the Fed drops short-term interest rates, that's probably not going to drop long-term interest rates, right? They don't have control over that. And that's more driven by the health of the economy. Just shifting to investing real quick. it's a colorful chart. Every color represents a different place you can invest in, whether it's stocks or real estate or bonds. Really, the white bar is kind of what we as wealth managers always point to. We always talk about diversification. We always talk about building portfolios that can weather different storms. When you build a diversified portfolio, you sort of lock in at a slightly above average return compared to if you're just trying to pick and choose the winners and losers every single year. So that's why we as wealth managers always suggest that. And it's kind of going back 15 years, a good reminder that, hey, if you have a diversified portfolio where you have a little bit of everything, you're going to make it a less bumpy ride, and you're going to still end up in a good spot. Probably my favorite slide of all things investing is this one, and it's just all about time, right? If you ask me what's going to happen to the stock market or the bond market in any one given year, my answer is I don't know. You could be up big, green bar, you could be down big in any one given year. But the minute you get out to 5 years and longer, the chances of you making money investing is really, really good. Because the average recession is about 18 months, right? We think of recessions going on for years and years and years, and it generally doesn't. You generally go on for 12 to 18 months. Even the Great Recession of 2008, the stock market, when it peaked to when it got back to where it was right around 4 years. It was a really long 4 years, don't get me wrong, right? But it was still less than 5 years to get your money back if you invested at the absolute worst moment. And so that 5-year number is a big number of really statistically saying, hey, we're going to make money when we invest. These are just kind of a bunch of other charts. So I'm going to pause here, open up for questions. I mean, if you were to ask us, what are we positive and negative on for 2026? We're positive on stocks. We're positive on bonds. We're positive on stocks because earnings look good. You could argue valuations look high. I don't disagree with that. But everything in the economy seems to be clicking pretty good from a stock market perspective. We don't expect interest rates to go up, so we're not worried about bonds, right? So bonds, when interest rates go up, bonds go down. We're not expecting that. Real estate looks like it's making a turn slowly. If there's anything we're cautious on, it's inflation. We think it's going to be sticky, and so I wouldn't expect kind of prices aren't coming down at all, but we're hoping that the rate of growth goes, pauses for a little bit.
So in 2001,
Yeah,
there was a huge tech bubble around this new concept called the Internet World Wide Web
there was.
that popped really bad.
Did.
And do you see any concerns of a similar trend with AI right now, especially when you talk about power, data center limitations, environmental impacts of that being discussed, and the fact that most of that AI usage is self-reported data?
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be company by company. So like Oracle, for example, has had a really tough go the last couple of months because they've spent so much money for AI development, and they're starting to see that they might not actually be able to fulfill what they have promised they were going to, and they have bonds, they have debt that is going to be coming due in the next couple of years that they took out to build out AI that they might not be able to fulfill on, right? So when you talk about a bubble, it's company by company, right? I mean, Tesla has one of the highest valuations in the stock market, right? Like, what is Tesla? Are they a car company? Are they a battery company? Are they an AI company, right? Like, yeah, they're a little bit of everything. Does their valuation justify where they're at? Probably not, right? Probably not right now. So, a crash, I shouldn't use the word crash, but a pullback in Tesla is going to be a very different feeling than a pullback in Apple, right? Because they have right now two very different approaches to how what they're spending on AI, even though they're both spending a lot of money on AI. But yeah, like the answer is yeah. No, you go back, and I heard this from an economist a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was right, is, were we wrong about the internet in 1999? The answer is no. Did valuations and companies run ahead of it? Yes, they did. But were we wrong about it? No. Like, it was just a timing from an investment standpoint. And that's what we're always just trying to figure out, is timing versus, whether you're right or wrong. So it's going to be company by company, though. Yeah.
You speak to local markets?
What
that's looking like here locally, state.
For
Projected growth.
for projected, yeah. I mean, from a real, I don't follow Colorado markets like as closely as I probably should. Everything's more kind of national, from my perspective. I'm probably not the best person to answer that, to be honest.
We've got more questions. So Mark CK is coming up in a minute, and I've talked to him. How many times has the Fed lowered the rates and the 10-year Treasury has gone nowhere?
Yeah.
Kind of rate range bound. So
Yeah.
want to touch on that a little?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on that. I mean, the Fed has control of, right? The Federal Reserve has control of short-term interest rates, which is what this chart is right here, right? So this is short-term interest rates. This is what basically you would get on a money market fund if you were to invest in a money market fund, or a risk-free rate where you could invest your money and have zero risk of losing it. The 10-year Treasury is really the interest rate though that drives mortgage rates, that drives lending rates in general. And that, like I said, that right now is 4.25%. And so you take the 10-year Treasury and you have to add a percent or two to that to get what it is. And so there's just I think what Sam's getting at is, just because the Fed, if you hear on the news, oh, they lowered interest rates, they're talking about short-term rates, and most of the time that's not going to be correlated to the rate that actually matters to how things are priced. And like I said, if the 10-year Treasury drops to 2.5%, we've got a much bigger problem in the economy, and then that we'd all have to deal with.
Any last questions? Got it? Smart guy up there.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got a great panel now. Excited to have Derek Booth and Travis Wall come up there. We're gonna do a panel discussion with them on cybersecurity. When you guys sit in those two, sit here.
Hello.
So Derek Booth, can I tell them the story about, we coached basketball years ago. Should we start with the one where the cops came?
No, don't tell that one. No, you're not allowed to tell that one.
You are a cop.
You're not allowed to tell that one. Can you hear? Is this working?
It's for the online.
Oh,
So
okay.
just put it on there, so,
I'll put it here.
and they'll be able to hear Travis, so. Okay, so Derek Booth works with the Secret Service. You give yourself a quick intro, and Travis, you already did, so then we'll go into it.
Good afternoon. Derek Booth. I've been a special agent with the Secret Service for almost 27 years. I started the job back in New Haven, Connecticut, and New York City. Was assigned to President George W. Bush and his family for 5 years. And I've been in the Denver field office here since 2007, so almost a little over 18 years. I've known Sam for those 18 years since I got here. We started coaching basketball. I can't remember the year. It's been a while, and we had a great time. There were no technical fouls between the two of us at all.
There were.
Between the couple seasons we were together, and to me, that's the most proud moment. So, yeah, it's me.
It's impressive. He already did.
I know.
So
Sorry.
you're good. Okay, so let's get into this. So what is the most, I'll ask Travis first. What is the most popular cyber scam today, and what are the best clues to look for?
I don't know if I can tell you exactly which cyber scam is the most popular, because they tend to change. Whatever's working, they're going to do. And they're coming up, the bad guys, with new things every day. I think the best thing to do to realize you might be scammed is to understand what they're trying to do. Number one, a scammer needs you to trust them. They can impersonate law enforcement. They can impersonate a government employee. They could impersonate your bank. Never look at me. They need you to trust them. Secondly, they need you to feel a sense of urgency to act. They need you to stop thinking about what you're about to do and have you push that button or transfer that money. So if I was going to tell someone what to watch out for, if someone's contacted you, especially if you did not contact them first, and especially if you do not know who they are. And I'm not saying, just because they send an email that says it's from Wells Fargo Bank does not mean it's from Wells Fargo Bank. Why am I trusting them, and why do they want me to do this right now? If we can just get people to think, I think you'll avoid a lot of possible problems with fraud.
Thank you. Okay, Derek, I'm just going to make this open-ended. What is the most, what do you want to make sure people know about this topic? And then I'll go into more specific after that.
I think the most important thing is to remember and know that you are not, don't take it personally. If you become a victim, don't take it personally. This sounds really mean, you're nobody to these people. You are money. That's all you are. You are a source of money. So don't take it personally. Don't get upset. I mean, you're going to get angry. You're going to get frustrated because you did something. You made a mistake. You get that. But if your spouse, your kid, somebody falls for this, don't get upset and just make the problem worse. Let's rally. Like, this is the time to have that thick skin, and let's recuperate what we can recuperate. The other thing is, and Travis has already hinted at this, that they're looking. They're constantly looking. I'm going to piggyback on what he said, and I'm a numbers guy. I have an accounting degree. The numbers right now coming from IC3, which is an Internet Crime Complaint Center. That's the number one thing the FBI does well. And I got 2 FBI agents here, so I can say that with a straight face. And I know, and it's great. They actually, it's fantastic. It's the place to report a crime if you fall for one of these as a victim, or if you have somebody that you know that falls for this. Say, go to ic3.gov and you can upload screenshots, emails, pictures. You can type out your report, a report or a narrative. You can type out what happened to you. And then when IC3 at the end of the year, they'll put out a report, and they're always a year behind just because it takes a year to get up. So the 2024 number was $16.6 billion was the loss in cybercrime in America. The top of that list was investment scams. And that has changed. That's changed in the last 3-4 years. It used to be ransomware. It used to be business email compromise, but now it's investment scams because of people, honestly, don't take this personally, because of people like you. You have money. You have a source that they're coming after. You know, when Butch Cassidy robbed banks, he went to the bank because that's where the money is, right? When Slick Willie, a famous bank robber, they asked him, why did you rob the bank? That's where the money is. Guess what? You guys are now that source. So just be careful.
Is that IC3, letter I, letter C, number 3?
IC, the number 3, .gov, and that's it.
I'm here to sell you this new investment. Just trust me on it, okay? Just kidding. Sorry, that not a good place to try that joke.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a lot of good questions for these guys, but I before I go further, is there any other folks that have specific questions for them? And I'll open it up again, but any other?
Where do romance scams fall on that IC3 chart? Are they still
wants that one?
prevalent, or has the numbers decreased over the years?
He's Chad's a great dude. If you don't know Chad, the romance scams have gone up, and again, it goes back to what we already talked about. You guys have more money than you did 10 years ago. Overall, people have more money that invest, and also those that are older. The older crowd becomes more of a target for romance scams, and more as the baby boomer generation grows.
Define what a romance scam is.
So a romance scam is when I connect with you online, whether it's Tinder, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and I connect with you and con you into being my friend. And then we start talking romantically, you become my friend, and then we start talking relationships. We might even talk about intimacy, and we start talking about, hey, let's hook up in a year, next week. Let's meet in Hawaii. Let's meet in Mexico. Let's meet at the coffee shop, whatever it might be. And hey, I've got this investment opportunity. And it might start that blatantly, or it might even be a little more sly and a little bit more insidious, where they might meet with you for a little bit, whether that's online or even in person, but mostly online. And then they want to start getting money from you. They're going to ask you, hey, do you know how to invest in crypto? That's a big one right now. Do you know how to invest in crypto? And a lot of older crowd do not know how to invest in crypto. And that's the new sexy term out there. Hey, I hear my brother-in-law made $1 million in Bitcoin. I will show you how to invest in crypto, is what bad guy will tell you. And they will con you, they will give you a bogus app right from the get-go and a bogus Bitcoin wallet, if you will, that you will start investing. They will take screenshots of some bogus app that they are manipulating 100%. And they will show you you have a great return on investment. You think you have $100,000 in this account, and really you have the $400 that you gave them, or $4,000. So that's a romance scam, and it's constant. To answer Chad's question, that number is going up as well. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Maybe we might have hit $1 billion this year, but you're talking thousands of victims. So that's what romance is.
Anything you'd add?
Just one thing. I've worked a lot of romance scams, and what I saw the most is, what surprised me is how long they will take to cultivate that relationship. When there's a lot of money involved, they will take months to research you, figure out what you like. And we put our lives on the internet, right? The social media. So when they do that, they figure out exactly what they need to do to talk to you and convince you that, hey, I'm your friend and maybe a potential romantic partner. I had one case right before I retired where an individual lost $1.6 million to a romance scam. And this guy took months to groom her, to talk to her and convince her he was the love of her life, when really he wasn't any of that. It's rampant, and there's so much money involved. That's why it'll take so much time to cultivate a victim.
I need to add one more. We had a case of a woman. She was 70 years old. She was a widow. She inherited a bunch of money from her husband. She invested in real estate, and you're talking high dollars. And her son-in-law called the office one day. I just happened to pick up the phone and explained to me that she had fallen for a romance scam. She was sending $35,000 wire transfers to the Philippines every day, every week. She met the love of her life. These are her words. I met this guy online. He is the love of my life. She had sent, at that point, I think about $300,000. The family had an intervention. They sat her down, tried to explain to her, please do not send any more of this. This is their inheritance, right? They're like, hey, this is family money. Please stop. They asked me, could I meet with her? And I was feeling good. I guess I was feeling charitable that day. I said, yeah, bring her in. And I've never done this since, never did this before up to this point. She came in the Secret Service field office, sat down. She saw the pictures of Bill Clinton and Joe Biden and everything around, right? Sat her down. I explained to her. We went online on Facebook. This is bogus. I showed her this is bogus. These are not real pictures. I asked her, do you believe me? Yes, I believe you, sir. Yes. She walked out the door, called the guy, and continued the payments. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how much people will trust people online that they meet, and yet they won't trust a federal agent or a police officer in their backyard.
I've had
And
the
so, yeah.
same experience.
Do they have a source of finding these people to rob?
Yeah, how do they pick them, or do you have any
Anywhere
idea?
online, dating websites are very common. The guy I was talking about investigating, he had numerous fake profiles. It just depended on who he was targeting, what kind of profile he would use. Were they religious, or he had a very Christian-oriented
So it's mostly
profile?
dating location?
I don't know that we can say mostly, but they use it very commonly. Any social media can be used for this purpose and is used.
Yeah. So I actually worked with Travis, got a call, I don't know, 6 months or a year ago from someone down in Southern Colorado who I know very well, not a client, thank heavens, and for the rest of the story. He was on Twitter or X, and very outspoken about Colorado politics, and someone direct messaged him on that, and they developed a conversation, and it was a woman, and nothing romantic about it. She got him to invest in gold futures, and had him invest $2,000 and put him in it, and it was worth $5,000 30 minutes later after he'd done it. And it was all through Coinbase and Coinbase wallets. Jeff could give us a long lesson on all the wallets. Jeff knows his crypto good. Anyway, he continued to give more money to this person. He was contacting me after he'd given over $500,000, and his on paper said it was worth $2.6 million, so he was doing good. But he asked for money back, and they gave him $1,500 back at one point, but would never give him anything more back. And they were asking for, you need to pay this 19% tax in order to get it done. And then he was asking for, or he researched other organizations that will help go get his money back, and they wanted to charge a fee. So tell me anything on that. What have you seen?
Unfortunately, a lot of those companies that advertise that they can get your money back after you've been defrauded are actually with the fraudsters, and that's the next tier of how they get your money. I saw that a lot of times in timeshare fraud, if you've ever heard of that. Once they get your money and you realize it's a fraud, well, then soon you're contacted by someone from the government of whichever country your timeshare was in. To, we found this out, we've done a raid, we found all your money, we're going to get it back to you. But we need you to fill out this paper and send us $10,000 for processing. It wasn't the government, it's just part of the scam. They continue as long as they can, and they'll never give up. If you ever, I like what Derek said about if it happens, don't be offended, it happens, but know this, you will be on their list for the remainder of your life. The story will change, the scam will change, but it is the same people contacting you over and over because they've been successful.
I just want to follow up. In that whole process, Travis spoke with this individual and told him to file the reports through the IC3, and he did. But I think it's important to everybody here realize losing $500,000 and reporting it to the FBI, this is the part that probably isn't fair to say in front of these guys. It's not enough. It's not enough for them to be able to go do anything. You should still report it, and give them as much information as possible. Oh, you guys should answer that. So here I'm giving the advice as yes, my time in the Secret Service.
Can you tell us how you feel about, never mind. No, Sam's dead on. The prosecuting thresholds, say the U.S. attorneys, and it is different in every state, but like here in Colorado, it's Sam's not wrong. It's like $500,000. And so it's super frustrating. And so we try to work with even our state and locals if we can to try to just do something. But the best thing you can do, as Sam hinted at, it started down that road. If you become a victim, the best thing you can do is become the best investigator in the world. Start taking screenshots, set up just like Word document, a simple Word document or a Google Doc, and just start keeping track of conversations, IP addresses, email addresses, Bitcoin wallets, anything that you can keep track of, do it, because you're getting it fresh. And then take it. Don't be the squeaky wheel. Call the FBI. When they send you to the Secret Service, call the Secret Service. When we say go to postal inspectors, go to postal inspectors. That's actually the true trickle line that happens there. These guys are joking. They know that. But do it. Keep doing it. Be the squeaky wheel and keep pushing it and keep pushing it. And definitely go to IC3, report it, because you never know. Department of Justice and FBI just had a $15 billion crypto seizure back in October from a guy in Cambodia, and they just arrested him 2 days ago in Cambodia, and they're shipping him back to China to be prosecuted. That's $15 billion in crypto. That's most of those victims, I guarantee, are American. And so if they can get that money back, there is a small possibility you could get some of your money back. There's no way you're going to be made whole. There's no way. But at least let's say you get 2% back. That's better than zero. So did I answer all that?
Can I add
great.
one thing?
Yeah, go.
Just to reiterate, and maybe this has already been explained, but say you only lose $100. Okay, no one likes that. But the reason you report that with all the detail that Derek's talking about, maybe that $100 is part of a billion-dollar scheme, and the bits and pieces that you provide help connect the dots. Because sometimes it's that one IP address, that one email, that one phone number that unravels the entire scheme. I've seen that more than once.
Yeah, last night we were at dinner, or I asked Travis, his Nigerian that you prosecuted, 1.6 million or whatever, and he luckily found one email account that the guy had made a mistake to connect to his personal. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This guy thought he was cleaning himself off by using a Russian cryptocurrency exchange, thinking they wouldn't cooperate with us. And many times they don't. But this was before the Ukraine war. I was very fortunate that I contacted them. They gave me all the information they had, including one email address that actually led to this guy. Without that one email address, I'd have never found it. But that's why it's important. All the details are reported.
How did that email address give you where he was?
Well, good question. It was an email address that he used personally. Most of the time, these guys, they compartmentalize everything. Their fraud persona never touches their personal. They've got fraud email addresses, fraud telephone numbers, fraud cryptocurrency accounts, and they have to move the money through a lot of different exchanges and transfers and things like that to clean it so that law enforcement can't track it. Well, this guy made one mistake in that he linked a personal email account to a fraudulent cryptocurrency exchange that he was using, or not the exchange being fraudulent, but the account he was using. So, but report everything because you only need to pull the right one string.
Any other questions that have cropped up in your minds so far? This your turn to ask these bozos to my left, I mean, really smart guys, good guys. Go ahead.
I'd be curious how common mortgage fraud is.
How common is mortgage fraud?
Yeah, here,
When you say mortgage fraud, what do you mean?
like people taking the title. Is that
Who
really
wants
a
that?
thing, or is that just companies trying to get you to buy?
I don't know a number, but it's a lot. I know in 2008 when the mortgage crash happened, it was extremely prevalent, and we had a mortgage fraud task force actually set up. I think the Bureau was part of that. I think Postal Inspections, IRS here in Denver, and I know we arrested 20 or 30 people. Those weren't my cases. I was just on the arrest teams when we arrested them. But to answer your question, now it is still a big thing, and I just gave a presentation in Vail this summer to a bunch of title insurance employees and managers and attorneys and such. And that does happen quite a bit. I can't give you numbers, but it's anytime the criminal can get a hold of your cash and anything they can do online. And what we're talking about title fraud, we're talking about somebody goes on and let's say you have a chunk of property up in, Beaver Creek, and it's just been sitting there for 20 years. You inherited that. You're not planning on building it. You're just going to hold it for your grandkids or somebody to pass on to. Well, if I as bad guy know that you're not going to touch that or somehow can kind of watch that, and I could go sell that. If I can get in the right, I can social engineer my way into a title company, into a county assessor's office, into whoever I need to do to control that property, and then I could sell that property online or through another means. That's happening. It actually happens quite a bit. Yeah.
So how do you protect yourself from that if you own a house outright or whatever?
I think just keep track the best you can of your property, just like you would your investments, right? How often do you inventory your investments? You look at them daily, you look at them weekly, you look at them monthly. If you have properties all over the world, are you checking? Are you looking with your title companies? Do you call and just say, hey, how am I looking?
Do you have a title company on a house that you own outright, or should you not?
But we have a service that blocks that access or whatever.
Is that worth it? Like a service, a home title?
I don't think it can hurt.
Can't hurt.
They
It's-
say, oh, no one's looking
Wouldn't
at
hurt to
your
run credit
title.
reports
or-
annually.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause I don't know how to do that myself.
I'll be honest, I don't, other than my house, I don't know a ton of property.
That's all I'm talking about is our house.
Oh, your own house that
Your
you're
own-
in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a common thing for someone to come and?
Again, I can't give you numbers on that one. We've had that in the past. I don't necessarily think that's a huge thing right now, but it's definitely out
Like the
there.
house we're living in and-
I think you can go to the county assessors and see if your name's still on it. That might be one way to do it.
If somebody shows up at your house looking to buy it and you didn't invite
to
them,
move in.
that might be a clue.
Well, I don't know, they do all kinds of sketchy things.
Yeah.
you know. They just take over the title and they take out a mortgage on the house.
Take out a HELOC on your house.
Have you heard of that?
I haven't. Have you guys? Yeah. I mean, okay. Well, we'll get back to you on how to protect yourself with that one. Go ahead.
What do you know about fraud with AI and like imitating voices?
Ooh, I like that one.
Grandparents.
What do we know about fraud with AI and imitating voices?
This is becoming much more of an issue. Everyone's probably heard of a grandparent fraud where your grandchild calls you up, they're in Mexico, they've been arrested, they're gonna go to jail unless you send $1,000 right now. Very common, it's been going on for years. Well, what has complicated this is the AI. If they have a sample of somebody's voice, even a small sample, and their picture, there are apps out there that can make them look and sound. In case of a FaceTime, instead of a telephone call, you could see an image of your grandchild, it would sound like their voice. So yeah, this is becoming much more of an issue. It used to be these fraudsters would only communicate mostly through email, text and whatnot, because they didn't have a good means to talk to someone using voice or video, but those days are gone now. They can generate all that. And you can FaceTime someone who's a romance scam, timeshare fraud, grandparent fraud. So it's becoming an issue for sure.
There was a big case not too long ago out of San Francisco. The company it's a London-based company. An employee in San Francisco was on a video call supposedly with the CFO. And that CFO instructed her to send, I think it was $50 million, I can't remember the number, to some banks in Hong Kong and China. And it was a number of wire transfers. Come to find out, it was completely all AI generated. The whole video, the CFO was never on this call. So that's the most extreme case that we've seen. And so we always say multi-factor authenticate everything, right? Phone calls, emails, text messages, no matter whatever you do, whenever you're transferring big chunks of money, make sure you're verifying that through different means other than just the email or your normal means. Because if your typical employee gets hacked into, you got to make sure that that's going to the right place. Make sure you have the right bank accounts. Make sure you have the right transfer instructions to where you're sending that money.
Go ahead.
And that's why we're really annoying at Fidelis if you email us and say, hey, I need this much money. And we're like, can you call me on the phone?
Yes. We do not take email instruction. We verify. Go ahead.
Hey, so what would y'all recommend for somebody who is maybe a grandparent who got the phone call with the video, which is AI generated, and they see their grandchild or loved one saying, hey, can you please send this $20,000 right now, or we're going to put this person in jail? What do you recommend they do?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure there's a perfect answer, but I would ask them something that only they would know. And think about it. Don't pick something easy. Think something only they would know. Ask them and see how they respond. And that might not be perfect because, like I say, these people research, so you really want to think about the question.
You know, my kids, I got two of my kids here. We used to have a password, or I don't want to tell my kids to say this word out loud, but you know what word I'm talking about. So they had a word that if they were at elementary, when they were in school, if they got a call saying, hey, you need to come home or with me, say somebody tried to pick them up or some bogus information, they had to say, what's the password? So I think what Travis is saying, just do that. Have a password. Do something to authenticate, like you're saying, authenticate through passwords, through information. I sent money to a buddy of mine, don't judge me, in Venezuela last week. It was the day before, okay? So don't really judge me. This is a guy I met 30 years ago. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for 30 years. He's super poor. And he had a motorcycle accident, broke some ribs. He's the father of 3 or 4 kids, so he's suffering. And he just asked me at Christmas time, dude, can you send me something? So I wired him, I sent him a few $100, which not much to me, but I asked him through direct messenger. I asked him a question that I knew only he would know. And this was a question back when I knew him 30 years ago. Tell me who this guy's name was. And there's no way anybody else would know that name to verify, hey, I'm talking to the right guy. Because who knows? Maybe I did get scammed. I'm on the wrong. Somebody hacked into his Facebook to make sure that I'm talking to the right person.
Derek, my ribs really hurt. Hook me up.
I just
Go
have
ahead.
a quick comment on that. And it's the same thing they're doing when they try to get you to do anything, right? It's that sense of urgency that they try to generate in you or in your grandparents. And it's one of those big red flags where it's like, if this has got to happen right now, wait a minute, why does this have to happen right now?
They need you to stop thinking.
Yeah.
Don't think, act.
I was walking into lunch with him 6 months ago, and I got a call from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office saying that I missed a grand jury duty, and they're coming to arrest me unless I go pay my fine right away. And I didn't present it very well because it sounded legit, and I went with it for a second. And I was like, wait a sec, this is not right. Because I asked more questions, they said I need to go not to the Justice Center in Castle Rock. I needed to go somewhere else to pay it. It's like, okay.
And buy a gift card.
Yeah, something like. Anyway, we're about out of time. I just want to finish with one question and answer the question and give any final thoughts you guys have. Is cyber fraud more about technology or about the human behavior and psychology? I'll let you each take your turn.
I think Travis said this, I think the very first answer, it is all about psychology. And this gentleman just said it. It's about urgency and fear. They want to put that fear in you, and that everybody here has a button. If I knew you, I could push that button. Some of you are afraid of spiders. Some of you are afraid of your neighbors making fun of you. Some of you are afraid of not having a car as good as your brother-in-law. Some of you are afraid of watching the wrong TV show or fear of missing out. Every one of us in here has a trigger. And if these guys can figure out what that trigger is, that's what they're coming after. How do they do that? They do it by just mass explosion of emails, text messages, SMS messages, whatever it might be, they're coming after. And again, they're not coming after you, they're coming after anybody. Anybody that will bite, that's what they're doing. And they want to get into your psyche. They want to make you afraid. They want to make you embarrassed. They want to make you feel like you have to act like Sam's talking about. Someone's coming to arrest me. Oh my gosh, I have to act now or my wife's going to be super embarrassed. My boss is going to find out. I've got a promotion possibility next week. They want to know that. So to me, it's psyche. And my final thoughts are, this is fantastic. I love doing these. I did them with Chad for years. And I just love getting awareness out. The more you can share this with your grandkids, with your grandparents, with your own kids, whatever you can do just spreads, and it just helps everybody not become that victim. And hopefully those numbers will start coming down because people are more aware of what's out there.
I know we're out of time. I agree completely with what Derek said. If you get nothing else out of this, stop and think. If you're feeling panic, if you're feeling urgency, stop and think. That's it.
So my final thoughts for these two is Derek and I have worked together. We've coached together. Derek has served his 20 years in the Secret Service, and Travis got out right at his 20 years. And for like the last 10 years, I've told him, Derek's not a CPA, but is close to a CPA because he's got a financial background. I was able to convince Travis to come join Fidelis, and I'm going to do it publicly. I've been trying to get this guy too. No, I'm just kidding. I love Derek and Travis, and this has been a great panel. So thank you guys for sharing your time with us. All right, we're going to have a break for 10 minutes, get some more food, get some more coffee, and then we'll go into the next section. Okay, thanks, bro. Great job. Hey, thanks for coming. Are you gonna hold this, or you gonna hold it, or are you gonna talk it? Like, want to hear? All right, in order to stay on schedule, I'm gonna turn, we're gonna do this second panel a little bit different to start. We're gonna have Rilee and Carly from our office talk about a couple of topics, and they're just gonna talk briefly, and then we're gonna bring up Mark Pasosa and Shannon Marino, the CPA and estate planning attorney. My wife and Matt Tenney, you need to be quiet. All right, so here we go. Rilee Erickson is going to speak to us now. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right, so like Sam said, my name's Rilee. I'm also like the insurance gal here at Fidelis. I know it's not the most exciting topic to bring up at a party, but bear with me. This is near and dear to my heart. I promise I'll make it as painless as possible. So let's think of life insurance as like your financial backup plan. It's basically saying, hey, if something happens to me, my family isn't scrambling for bills. So that's pretty simple, right? So there's two flavors of insurance. So you have term insurance, which is like renting your coverage. Oh. Okay, term insurance is like renting your coverage. You pick a time frame, maybe 20 to 30 years. You pay way less in premiums, and boom, you're covered. It's perfect for those in the meantime years when you have a mortgage to pay off and you have kids that have education. My husband and I, we have young kids, so we have term coverage right now because that makes the most sense for us. Then there's permanent life insurance. So that's whole life, universal life. I'd like to think of it as your whole family. This is the buy, don't rent option. You're covered for life and it builds cash value over time. I like to think of it as your kind of piggy bank. You can take loans out of it if you prefer. Just keep in mind that if you take a loan out of your life insurance, it also decreases the death benefit. The catch, it costs more. Sometimes a lot more, but for your right situation, it can be the best move for you. So how much do you actually need? Here is the fun math. So you take your income right now, multiply that by 10 to 15, factor in your mortgage and any education expenses that you would have for your kids. And I see people not keep in mind if something should happen to you, keep in mind those final expenses. Nobody thinks about that when we're determining those life insurance numbers. Everyone's different. A single person with no dependents needs drastically less than a mom with 5 kids. The best part is that you can find something, and there's always, the younger and healthier that you are when you buy, the cheaper it is. But if you're 50 with high blood pressure, that's probably not the best idea to buy. Of course, if you have any questions, creep on me on the website. You can always get me at the office. And I'm on all the socials as Financial Peace of Mind with Rilee, and I'm totally happy to help anybody with anything, even if you have coverage and you don't know what it is, what you can do with it. I'm happy to help you. But thanks, y'all. Yes, and next up we have Carly talking about what is near and dear to her heart.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, hello, everyone. My name is Carly Fidani, as Rilee mentioned. I wanted to quickly just chat on a couple of retirement updates that are coming in 2026 that are worth being aware of. So to start off, we're gonna start over here. So to touch on this, first, some good news. Retirement contribution limits are increasing in 2026. You can see on the slide the values for that for IRAs, Roth IRAs, and 401ks. I'm not going to go through all the values, but one thing I wanted to touch on really quickly is outside of the $8,000 catch-up for 401k contributions for people over the age of 50, outside of that, if your age is 60 to 63, if you fall into that category, you are eligible for a catch-up at an even higher amount at $11,250. If you're not aware of what a catch-up is, again, that's just a contribution that's over the standard limit. So secondly, I wanted to talk about a change under the Secure 2.0 Act that is coming in 2026 as well. Secure 2.0, if you're not aware, is a piece of legislation that is aimed at enhancing retirement savings for Americans. So if your age is 50 or older, as of January 1st, there's a few things. So basically, if you earned more than $150,000 in FICA wages in the prior year, so last year, those catch-up contributions must be made as Roth contributions, meaning they're contributed after tax. Keep in mind that's as long as your plan offers a Roth option. So be sure to check with your plan administrator on that. If your plan does not offer a Roth contribution option, and this rule applies to you if you still, are over 50 and made more than $150,000 last year, your contributions will just stop once you reach the regular contribution limit. And if you earned $150,000 or less, nothing changes for you. You can continue making catch-up contributions on a pre-tax basis, depending on how your plan is set up. One last thing I wanted to point out here is many retirement plans may handle this differently. Some plans automatically treat catch-up contributions as Roth once you get to that limit. And this is referred to as the deemed Roth option. So keep an eye out for that. However, in the meantime, many plans will require you to actively or manually choose that Roth catch-up contribution yourself. So again, this is only if this rule applies to you. And so because of these differences, it's a good idea to, again, check with your employer or plan administrator to understand how your specific plan works. And if you're confused, feel free to come talk to me or anyone on the Fidelis team, and we'd be happy to help you out with that.
All right, well, let's bring up Mark and Shannon. You guys want to come up? One of those on. You're close enough to mark that. So I want to
We can share.
introduce, I'll let them both introduce themselves, but Shannon Marino is an estate planning attorney. She's been in our office for almost a year, and she's great. Estate planning attorney. And Mark Pasosa and Mike, raise your hand, Mike. Mike Pasosa, they have the same last name. They're like related or something. And Mark was the partner in a CPA firm in Rochester, Minnesota for many, many years, and then came to Castle Rock to help start this practice with Mike, his son. And they've been with us for 7 years in our same office. Yeah. Anyway, I'll let them do a better job introducing themselves.
No worries. Tina, is it okay if we share? Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Shannon Marino. I'm an estate planning attorney with the Marino Law Firm. I help families and small businesses protect their assets and their loved ones by providing comprehensive estate planning. So wills, trusts, incapacity planning when mom's memory starts to slip, kids protection plans for your minor kiddos. We really focus on working as a trusted advisor from cradle to grave. I am licensed to practice in Florida as well as Colorado. So we have offices in Orlando in addition to the Castle Rock location.
Yeah, hand it to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Pasosa. We're located in downtown Castle Rock. I've been doing this for 40 years at this point. We have 3 people in our office. We're just hiring a new person starting Monday. We do tax planning, income tax preparation, We don't have a license in Florida, so.
You need to get one.
Mark is also an attorney. He doesn't practice as an attorney, but he's got his law degree. I am going to start with Shannon, let her, I was going to ask questions, but I think I will just give you the clicker and you just go wherever you want to go with this to start.
All right, let me attach this. There we go. All right, so when I do these types of presentations, I really like to be functional and practical so that you guys have some clarity as it relates to estate planning and simple steps that you guys can take on your own to start protecting your assets and protecting your loved ones. What I like to share with people is that my practice actually started in civil litigation. So for many years, I went to court day in and day out. I specialized in death cases. I handled a lot of brain injury cases. And while I loved the practice, there was a really sad part to the practice in that most of the time my clients did not have an estate plan in place. And usually that would lead them into court and into a lot of family conflict. So there would be lots of fighting over who was going to manage mom's accounts and mom's finances. Is it going to be the daughter that lives in a totally different city? Or was it going to be the son that lived in the basement and perhaps had already been inappropriately dipping into the funds, right? And what kind of medical decisions were we going to make for mom? Were we going to put her in memory care? Or were we going to bring some type of nursing care into the house? What did that look like on a practical standpoint? And how are we going to afford it? So I get questions all the time about how do I get started and really how do I know that I've got an estate plan that's going to be effective and practical and actually be helpful for my family when they need to utilize it. Because the difficult side of what I do is, while I may work with my client and I'm taking directives from my client, when I put an estate plan together, it's not for my client. Because when I need to use that estate plan and that estate plan gets brought out, my client doesn't know it because they're either incapacitated or they will have passed away. So if you do not have an estate plan in place, or maybe you've got an old one, okay, that you haven't looked at in a long, long time, and there's no judgment. I had a client bring me an estate plan on a cassette tape a couple months ago. I don't have a cassette player. So it was not of good use to me, and it was not of good use to the family anymore. And so what I typically say to people is, if you don't have an estate plan in place, that's okay. Roughly 70% of adult Americans do not have an estate plan in place at all. And for those that do, usually they sign it, they put it on the shelf, and they never think about it again. So I want to encourage you, as we are going into 2026, and we're really trying to be purposeful and mindful with how we are structuring our finances and our legal matters, to dust it out, dust it off, and if you don't have one in place, let's start to get some financial organization together. I usually recommend that you do that through an asset inventory. Just inventorying your assets is really going to be the first step to making sure that you are taking steps to protect those assets. There's $1 billion sitting in unclaimed funds in the state of Colorado alone. And that's because you pass away and your loved ones don't know what you have. Okay, so the first step is really getting a clear, concise inventory. And if you're working with trusted advisors, they should be helping you with that and helping you to maintain that over time. The next thing that I always tell families is to get super clear on what your wishes are. Understand what your goals are. Talk to your family members and make sure that you're being realistic as well. Because I get a lot of people that come to me and say, oh, Ms. Marino, super simple. I just need something really, really simple. It's going to be really easy. And as I start digging, I start to find out, oh, there's businesses. Oh, there's a family cabin up in Minnesota. Oh, we've got a red flag with maybe an in-law, a daughter-in-law, or a son-in-law that we need to take into consideration. So make sure that you're getting very clear with what is going on in the family tree as well as what's going on in the assets, so that you can be realistic in designing a plan that's going to be functional and practical for your family, and then making sure that you're working with an advisor. Because once the court applies the laws and applies the statutes, you may read the words that are on that page, but the outcome a lot of times is very, very different once we start to apply the laws and the statutes to that plan into those documents. And then I also want to bring up the fact that I want you guys to share the plan. I actually got a phone call yesterday. I was doing a presentation late last night in Highlands Ranch, and I got a phone call as I was going into it, and one of my clients passed away over the holidays. But the daughter said to me, Ms. Marino, everything was amazing as it relates to the doctors. We were able to bring in the plan, and they knew exactly what the end of life wishes were, and they knew exactly who they were taking orders from, and they knew exactly who was allowed to be in that hospital room when they needed to talk about what was going on with our father. So share that plan, help the first responders, help your family out so that they know exactly what to do, what documents to grab, and they can start helping you. And preparing for you, as well as managing those assets and protecting the assets. And then the last but not least, it is 2026. The days of signing your estate plan, putting it on the shelf and never thinking about it again, like our grandparents used to do, are long gone. As you guys heard Travis and Derek speak about earlier today, our society is moving very quickly. The laws are changing, your family dynamics change, and your assets most certainly will change. And so the estate plan really needs to be reviewed and maintained over time. And with that, I will hand it over to Sam.
Thank you, Shannon. So when dad or grandpa is getting wheeled in for heart surgery, that's not the time to have the discussion as a family, what's my final wishes, right? Artificial nutrition, all that, right?
Please don't do that to me. Please
Don't do that to
your
yourself.
family.
Yeah, and that's where if you've figured it out, you've decided what you wanted, when you are sane enough to do that and you share it, that's really good. It's crazy in our business with Rilee and Carly and Tina, our team, and John. When we do a review, there's so much of how your assets transfer that they don't get involved in. I mean, they could or should, but your beneficiary, your transfer on death, how those assets transfer, we actually have we give a lot of advice and help with that, probably more than we should legally. Sorry, I'm saying that out loud, but yeah. But there's so much we can't do, especially around the end of life. And if you want to have any control, or if you want to have any control after death, like putting assets into a trust or things like that. So we'll come back here in a minute. Do you have anything you want to add first? No, you stay here.
Yeah,
in case. Yeah. Okay. So Mark is going to talk. He's got some really good information about our big beautiful bill act and some of the change. But he actually taught me something I didn't know. A lot of people are being impacted by the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act subsidy or tax credit that went away. So Mark, what does that mean, and how is that impacting people?
So the background, you have two types of laws. You have temporary provisions that expire. So they might be effective for 25 to 28 for one. Beautiful bill, the OBB3, they expire at a certain point. Then you have some things that are permanent, so they stay into law unless Congress changes it. So, well, back in 21, we had a thing called COVID, and because of that, they enhanced the Affordable Care Act. So the old rule was if you had between 100 and 400% of the poverty level as far as income, you qualify for a premium tax credit. If you made more than 400 times the poverty level, you did not qualify for a premium tax credit. And if you made less than 100, you did not either, because you're supposed to go on Medicaid. So in 21, they passed this bill, and in 22, they modified it slightly, but it was designed to expire at the end of 25. And what happened is a lot of people were confused at why they got this notice in December that all of a sudden their health coverage was going up dramatically. Just, I can kind of give you an example, easy example. So during this period of time with the enhanced Affordable Care Act, say you made $100,000 between the two of you. So you have two people in the family, you make $100,000. Under the Affordable Care Act, you were required to pay up to $8,500, 8.5% of your income. Now what's happening is if you make that same $100,000, you're beyond the four times the poverty level, so your premium tax credit is zero. You don't qualify anymore. So say for instance in 25, maybe you had $14,000 worth of premiums, you only had to pay $8,500. The rest was covered by the premium tax credit. Now, you might be at $20,000 because two things happen. One is your premium tax credit went away, and two, health insurance has gotten more expensive.
And you're older. Yeah.
And you're older. Depending on how much older you are,
yeah.
If you went to a bracket. I know in my own personal case, my wife's coverage went up $500 a month. So that's really what all the stuff you've been seeing about keeping the government shut down. So that's at this point it looks like that enhanced premium tax credit's not going to come back.
Yeah, I felt kind of dumb, and Mark corrected me that wasn't related to the big beautiful bill. That was actually Biden's budget, and it was set to expire, and they were fighting over trying to blame it on the current administration letting it expire. But anyway, not getting into politics. I'm just letting you know that's how it happened. Okay, so talking about the big beautiful bill, the SALT deduction deduction. You can explain what that is, and that's one of the big changes too. So why don't you talk about that, Mark?
So SALT is state and local taxes. So for 2017, you could deduct an unlimited amount of taxes. When they passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that was the first Trump administration, they took that down to $10,000, and that's been the rule since then. So starting in 25, they raised the $10,000 to $40,000. So you can deduct more state and local income taxes than you have been in the past.
So that's state tax and real estate tax.
So
That's the biggest one.
Tax, real estate taxes, car taxes. So a lot of people were being capped at 10 grand, and because of that, they didn't have the ability to itemize. So this year, if you have a lot of real estate taxes, a lot of income taxes, and they raised it to 40,000, a lot of people will find that for the first time in a long time, they're going to be able to itemize. So this provision is available to anybody as long as your income is less than $500,000. If you get over 500,000, starts phasing out. So, but it will be a significant benefit for, and it's really a big issue on the East Coast where a relatively small house, you could have $20,000 worth of real estate taxes. So it's a benefit for that.
Yeah, California, East Coast, this was very big for them to have it go up to 40,000. So there's a lot of talk about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime and no tax on Social Security. Clarify the Social Security one, and I don't think most people here get tips, so, but you can still mention it and stuff like that.
So it was classified as no tax on Social Security, but it's really not, has nothing to do with Social Security. You don't even have to be collecting Social Security to qualify for it. What you have to do is be age 65. The amount is $6,000. It's a deduction, not credit, so it's a deduction. If you're both over 65, you get $12,000. It phases out, and depending on what your income level is, and this provision is temporary. So it goes from 2025, this is the first year, it ends in 2028. So it could be a significant benefit if you both on Social Security. The other thing is there's no tax on tips. So you have to be in an industry where tips are customarily. So if you go to a restaurant, a server would be customarily receiving tips. You can exclude up to $25,000 for tips. As far as overtime, that depends on if you're single or married. It's $12,500 if you're single, $25,000 if you're married. Overtime is just the half. So if it's time and a half, it's only the half part of it that you get. It's included into that. Sometimes people are thinking the whole overtime. You know, if you work 50 hours, you get the whole 10 hours at time and a half. It's just the 50, the extra half an hour that you get. So a lot of people will have a hard time getting to 25,000 if you think about it, unless you're working 70-hour weeks. And accountants don't, we're not included in that group. They don't understand.
I was going to say, can I pay you 75% less and give you a 75% tip?
Accountants, we don't qualify.
Yeah.
And you have to be in a job that you're required to pay overtime. So it's somebody who's subject to the Federal Labor Standards Act. So those are the ones that qualify.
Mike has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so recently, like even in the last few days, there's been talk that the retirement age is being bumped up to 67. Is this written so that it's literally 65 years old, or is it at retirement age in the law? I'm just curious because that might affect that, right?
My understanding is it's just 65.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk about Social Security, it is.
It is already 67. It's full retirement age.
They're
Yeah.
going beyond
Yeah.
67
Right.
because obviously the trust fund needs a little extra money.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes left. Mark has 35 years experience. I had a really wise guy once tell me, the guy that made a lot of money said I could hire 19 different CPAs and they'd all prepare a different tax return with different numbers. I've been doing this 25 years. I'm in my 26th year. Mark is the one I think would be the most close to what was right of any of them. And I can't give you a better endorsement than that. So any questions you guys have for, go ahead, Rilee.
So, dream team up there, obviously, but say you guys were all in the same office. So Sam's my advisor, Shannon's my attorney, Mark's my accountant. What do you guys recommend? I want you guys to all talk and all have a relationship. That doesn't mean something happens to me. So how do I, in a dream world where you guys aren't in the same office, how do I make that happen? What do you guys recommend? The easiest way for that?
I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, so I think it just boils down to communication. Respectfully, I have some clients that are not with Sam. And you want to make sure that when you are interviewing these trusted advisors, that you are getting individuals and professionals that are willing to work as a team. This is a new concept for many of us in the industry. We like to believe that we know it all and we can do it all. And the fact of the matter is we can't know it all and we can't do it all. So making sure that you're selecting and interviewing advisors that are willing to work collaboratively, open the doors for communication, and make sure that things are being taken care of proactively for you so that you can go and enjoy retirement. You can go to the golf course, you can go visit grandbabies, you can grow your businesses, and the advisor's job is to make sure that your legal and financial affairs are still being protected.
Mark, would you want to answer anything or add anything to?
I think it's very important that you use a variety of professionals. I know a lot of times people think that they can do things themselves, whether it's drafting wills or investments or using TurboTax. But as you become more complicated, you'll find that what you saved in fees, you're going to pay additional costs.
And I just add, I'll get to you in a second, Chan. I've always believed the more I and my team collaborates with the CPA and the attorney, the better outcome and the better experience for our clients, for all of us. And we all end up in a better place. So Janet.
So some of the information I feel like has come out of the news is kind of ambiguous. I'm not positive about whether we should be having the Social Security tax anymore, if the federal taxes should come out of that anymore, or if we should decline them, or if we should leave it as is.
And I'll let Mark go with that. I think that's a really good question because if you make too much money, it phases out, so it's not even a deduction anymore. But sorry, did I just take your answer?
There's no law that says there's no tax on Social Security. That was the goal, was not to tax Social Security. When they found out, when they did their budget reconciliation, they couldn't get it in the bill that way. So they did this senior deduction. I call it senior deduction. I don't call it no tax on it. So you basically, if two of you are over 65, you get a $12,000 deduction. Now, if you have a significant amount of Social Security, that $12,000 is not going to wipe out your taxable Social Security. Your Social Security is still taxable. For many people, it's 85% of your gross is taxable. So if that's $50,000 and you get a $12,000 deduction, obviously you're still paying tax on a significant part of your Social Security.
I didn't hear what you said.
He was just saying at 12 or 22%. So if you look at it, if you're looking at 24 to 25 and 25 to 26, you're only saving at best $12,000. With people with significant Social Security, you're still going to have to worry about that.
Troy, go ahead.
How often should estate plans be reviewed after they're established?
Yeah, we have mandatory reviews every 3 years. Most of my clients like them reviewed annually, just like they would meet with their financial advisor, just like you should be looking at your homeowner's insurance every year to make sure you have adequate coverage in case of fires. So certainly at a minimum every 3 years.
Go ahead, Chad.
Follow up to that, if you have a client and is it something your office does that periodically reaches out and says, hey, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, you probably should look at this, has anything changed?
Sir, I'm super annoying. I reach out to my clients quarterly and annually because your assets are going to change, right? So I want to know, did you buy a new house? Let's get it updated. Maybe you've switched employers and you now have a new retirement plan or a 401k. we need to make sure that we're on you to convert or roll over your old retirement account or switch it over to somebody new. So yes, absolutely. If you're looking for a trusted advisor, they should be proactive in making sure that things are being maintained for you.
And I'll let Mark wrap up this section. Anything else you would add that you think is important in 2 minutes or less?
So significant amount of the money that was spent under this tax provision is nothing exciting. Basically, you had certain tax rates for 2024. They're going to continue in 25 and 26. So if the law was not changed, if the extended, the tax cut and job tax rates weren't extended, almost all the brackets would go up by 3%. So if you made $100,000, your taxes would have gone up $3,000. So that doesn't get a lot of press, but that is a benefit from the provision. Some of the things that affect businesses, depreciation. We've had bonus depreciation since back almost 2002, I believe, the early part of 2000. They brought that back. So if you're a business owner, you buy something that's personal property, you can deduct it in the first year. So that really helps from a cash flow standpoint. That was a significant provision. There was concern whether that was going to be extended, and it was.
You want to mention the state tax real quick?
The estate tax, they made permanent the estate tax. That seems to be something that they always want to do temporarily, so they would push it forward 4 or 5 years. Now it's permanent, 15 million and 30 million for 2 people, and then it gets indexed. So for a lot of people, that will decrease the concern about the estate tax. There was a big fear that it was going to go back to 5 million as indexed, a little bit, I don't know, 6.5 million, somewhere in 6 million. So it's more likely at 6 million that you're going to have an estate tax than at 15. So it's really, that was a nice thing for people, especially business owners. A business being worth $15 million wouldn't be necessarily a big business. So.
Anything else you'd add? That's some.
A couple things in the charitable contribution area.
That's good.
So if you make, this is for 2026, not 25, but in 2026, you can contribute $1,000 if you're single or $2,000 to a charity in the form of cash and get a donation, even if you don't itemize. So that's something that we saw a few years ago with much smaller numbers, but it's a permanent thing. So if you give away $1,000 to a charity, you can deduct that even if you don't itemize, and $2,000 if you're married. On the negative side, in 2026, there's going to be a new floor. It's a 0.5% floor. So there's a haircut of your charitable contributions if you're itemized by 0.5% of your income.
So if you do itemize and you give $10,000 to your church or to the Happy Crew, you don't get to deduct the full $10,000. Is what you're saying?
You're going to lose 0.5%.
So that's new.
That's new.
Yeah.
Income, not the charitable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So on one end they made it better, and one end they made it not as good.
So to hit Mike's point, if you make $100,000 and you gave $10,000 to your church or organization, you could only deduct $9,500, right?
Yeah. So if you're in that situation, you always want, and if you're age 70 and a half or older, you want to consider doing a qualified charitable distribution. So instead of taking your IRA and taking the money and paying tax on it, and then taking that money and paying your charity, you can directly have the IRA pay the charity, and then you don't get a deduction for it, but that is not income to you. So you're basically getting a deduction. And you're not subject to the 0.5%.
Right. We're going to take a break. Let's start at 4:05, and this will be our last section. And I promise you, it'll be awesome. And after our keynote, we will, behind there, Corneli's, they're putting up their food. So take a break, and thank you, Shannon and Mark. Great. And talk to them after this. They're great resources. I'm going to introduce again Derek Booth. In case you haven't figured out yet, Derek's probably one of my best friends on this earth. I love this man. He is pure goodness. He's going to teach us about leadership, and he has the ability to motivate, to make you laugh and make you cry, from a Secret Service agent. So with that introduction, Derek Booth. Hopefully I'm going to make you laugh, and hopefully I'm going to make you cry. But I'm not sure how much of in between, and we'll see at the end of the day. It's a pleasure to be here. As Sam said, I've been with the service almost 27 years. I started the job in New York City and New Haven, Connecticut, knocked out a few years in Washington, D.C., and then I've been in the Denver field office now here for over 18 years. I'm like the Forrest Gump of the Secret Service. Mama Gump told Forrest, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And that's been my career because I never knew what was going to happen the next day. And with the intelligence level of Forrest, I'm probably about the same line. But I want to share a couple stories with you, a couple ideas, a couple thoughts, and I hope you go home with something that helps you, helps your family, helps your business, helps your partners, helps somebody. I didn't mention this. I grew up in southern Utah. And when I was a kid, going to elementary school, first day of school was like the greatest day of the year. I know it's kind of weird. I was kind of a nerd of a kid. But I remember walking into my lunchroom in West Elementary in St. George, Utah. It's not even there anymore. There's a courthouse there. They knocked it down. But I remember this lunchroom. I can still remember the smell and the look of this place. It smelled like sour milk and canned peaches and wood varnish and asbestos flakes coming down from the ceiling. And it was fantastic. And every day, or the first day of school, we would walk in, file into this lunchroom, and they would post our class list, right, from kindergarten to sixth grade over here, and we would find our class. Well, inevitably, I would figure out from my friends who I would run into as I'm coming into the building what class I'm already in. My buddy Bart, like, dude, you're in Mrs. Vandermeet's class. Or my buddy John's like, dude, this sucks. You're not in Mrs. Morton's class with me. I'm sorry. Anyway, that was a big deal for me because that lunchroom forged me in many different ways. And I was amazed that room could fit so many of us in there because a lunchroom, that room just became this palace, right, of cinnamon rolls and chili and nasty green spinach out of a can that I never saw one person ever eat in the 6 years I was in that school. But they served it every day. Anyway, that school changed me. I remember walking to the principal's office when I was 9 years old, and President Reagan had just been shot. And the secretary, the assistant said, hey, turn around, look at that TV. And I turned around, I swear it was in black and white. My kids are sitting right now, don't believe me that I even had TV when I was 9 years old. But I saw President Reagan shot, and that didn't really change anything in me. I can't really sit here and say, hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I think subconsciously that might have changed me a little bit. I also remember the fifth grade, first day I walked in and I saw my class list, Mike Stanley, fantastic, best year of elementary school. But more importantly, on that list was a girl named Amy Savage. I've been married to that girl for 32 years. We have 3 great, fantastic kids. So that school changed my life. I also remember when I was 12 years old, my mother threw a 40th birthday party for my father. It was a surprise birthday for him. And she invited 200 of his friends. They had like you're talking old-fashioned Bob Hope, Dean Martin roast, right? So for an hour, 2 hours, they stood there and roasted my father on his 40th birthday. And in my mind, that's success. In my mind, I'm like, hey, when I'm 40, I hope somebody roasts me. I hope my friends will get together and have a party with me. Well, let me fast forward to my 40th birthday, okay? I'm here in Denver. I'm in this office just up the street, and I'm sitting in my SAC's office, the special agent in charge. And the other 3 supervisors are there, all 4 of them. And they're cussing me out. They're chewing me out for doing something that I didn't do. And they're cussing this is after they interrogated 4 other senior agents and basically interrogated them, trying to figure out and trying to get them to turn on me and rat me out for something they don't even know. They're confused. They don't even know what they're talking about. So I'm sitting here and he's yelling at me. His face is redder than mine is right now. He's screaming at me. And I start to laugh. And it just made things that much worse. And he just gets angrier. And he says, why are you so disrespectful right now? And I said, sir, because you're wrong.
You've jumped to 4 conclusions here. You misinterpreted what I said, and you misinterpreted what these 4 other guys said, and you're judging me, and you're accusing me of insubordination, being subversive and disrespectful to you. Now, let me back up and I'll tell you why he got angry. Because 3 or 4 days earlier, President Obama had come here to Denver. He came to a high school up off Federal Avenue, and he did an outdoor rally, outdoor speech. And I was one of the side agents at this rally, at this high school. So let me back up even a little second. So the week before President Obama gets there, we show up and we meet with White House staff, we meet with the building principal, and we work out, okay, what's the game plan? Where's he gonna go? What room is he gonna speak in? Is he gonna speak? Is he gonna shake hands? And we put together our security plan. And this is what we do. This is our job. This is the bread and butter of the Secret Service, to put together a security plan for this building. So we do that. We go to work. We meet with Denver Police Department. We meet with Denver Fire Department, State Police, FBI, whoever's involved in this site and in this security, we're going to meet with, we're going to game plan it. We're doing great. We had this all set up. He's going to be outside in this courtyard. And you're thinking, wow, that's kind of dangerous. But he was enclosed by like 3 sides. So 270 degrees of him, he's good. A couple days before the event, they changed it. They quickly changed the site of the location, same high school, but on the other side of the building. We're now facing apartment buildings. And these were not nice apartment buildings. These are pretty low income apartment buildings. So now picture Butler, Pennsylvania from 18 months ago. That's very fresh in your mind. Picture that in Denver, Colorado, apartment buildings less than 200 yards away. So now all of a sudden our stress level just went through the roof. Well, we put together our plan, we do our thing. President Obama comes. He comes in, he shakes some hands, takes some pictures, gets up on stage, he speaks, he does his thing, and he goes away. It's great. He's safe. He's no problem. We didn't have any problems. We had one problem, the weather. The weather, it was the first week of October, and the weather is usually pretty chilly, and staff kind of planned on it being a little chilly. It was hot. It was like 90 degrees hot. And the poor people that come early, and everybody that comes to these rallies, I've learned, they come so excited. They're so pumped up. And they don't eat, they don't drink, and especially the elderly crowd. They're not sure, hey, what's my blood sugar going to be? I'm going to be standing in line for hours on end. I got to be careful of what I got to do. So a lot of these people show up and they're unprepared. And then we put them on a basketball court next to a light colored building. And the sun is just baking them and broiling them for about 4 hours before President even gets there. So these poor people, we had 18 people pass out in the crowd. And now we got to get EMS into the crowd to get them out. So this is what my boss was yelling at me. He didn't like our game plan. He didn't like what we had set up because in his mind, we dropped the ball. Not that the president was unsafe. My boss was upset because he looked bad. Now think about that for a second. Did the president live? Yeah, he lived. He came and he did his job. Did I do my job? You're dang right I did my job. And we did exactly what we were supposed to do. His ego was bruised and he was upset. I remember sitting there laughing in my head. This is my 40th birthday and I'm being accused of doing something wrong. And this is what I get. But at the same time, I started to laugh because I thought, you know what? It finally dawned on me. After 13 years on the job, it finally came to just picture perfect clarity. This is bad leadership. This is not good leadership. I'm supposed to be looking to this guy. He's supposed to be leading me. I'm not going to follow that guy. There's no way that guy's going to teach me anything. Well, he's going to teach me a few things. He's going to teach me how not to do it, right? I'm going to do the George Costanza. I'm going to do the exact opposite. And this is exactly what I started doing. I started looking. Now I started dissecting and I started looking backwards like, hey, who have I been taught by? Who's been my leaders? And I quickly realized I had some great leaders and I had some ugly leaders. I had a boss that used to hang his jockstrap on the back of his door handle in the office. So you'd come in, he'd make you close the door. And you come in, you sit down, and he'd chew you out or he'd talk to you, and then you got to leave. You got to open that door. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. I also had a boss that wouldn't listen. Had a boss that listened through the doorway, listened to a conversation, the 2 of us. He came storming in, his face was even redder than this, and accused us of doing something, again, wrong. And the gentleman that was with me was my direct supervisor. And he asked the gentleman to leave. I called the man insane and he stormed out. Still to this day, hates my guts. But that was ugly leadership. But let me talk about the good leadership, the good ones that I came across. And the first one I want to talk about was my first shift leader at the White House. So life at the White House is a little stressful. You don't want to be that guy. You're there to do your job, to make sure you're not on camera, make sure the president is safe, make sure he does his job. He goes from the house to the Oval Office and back, or he goes mountain bike riding, or he goes swimming, or he goes golfing, wherever he might be doing. Your job is to not be seen. My first shift leader was fantastic. He was quiet. He went out of his way to look after us. He would schedule us intentionally because he had this large Dodge Durango, and he would pack it with us shift leaders, shift mates. And he had a shift of like 25 to 40 people, depending on how many were on that shift that day. And he would intentionally pack that truck. And you're sitting there thinking, that's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal when you have to park on the ellipse of the White House every day at 1 p.m. if you're working the afternoon shift. And think about it. People come to work at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and they pack that ellipse. Now I'm scraping for crumbs to try to get a parking spot. Well, he would pack that truck with us, guys that lived near him, because we could meet at the Safeway. We could jump in that truck, and he had a parking spot on West Exec. So we would walk literally 10 feet. We're in the West Wing. He also listened to us. As we're driving, he would listen to us. We call it the suck truck because people said you're sucking up to the boss, right? So we call it the suck truck. Hey, did you come in the suck truck today? Yeah, we did. And he got to know us, and he listened to what we had to say. This shift leader knew me. He knew my kids' names. He knew that when my wife had our daughter, Brooklyn, that we had complications. He gave me an extra week off. He said, dude, just take the week. He didn't even charge me vacation time. And then he kept me in time. After that, for 2 weeks, he kept me in district to make sure I was home with my wife and kids, to make sure I was good. Now you think about it, those are just small and simple things. But the two differences between what we already talked about was he listened. He listened to what I had to say. He listened to my complaints. He listened to my critiques. He listened to what was going on in my life. That first boss didn't listen to me at all, and he's screaming at me. And we're having this ugly situation. Like I said, life at the White House is critical. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be like one of my classmates who's come flying around the corner and knocks one of the presidents on his butt. And he's like, yo, man, sorry. And you keep walking, right? You don't want to be the guy when we evacuate President Bush to the nuclear bunker and you've got another protectee with you and you lose your way and you miss the entrance to get there. So now when President Bush is coming back to the Oval Office, he sees you and he sees his buddy. He pats him on the back, really smart alecky like Bush is. He's like, hey, Bill, sorry, dude. I think we would have lost you on that one. I don't think you would have survived. And he keeps chuckling and he's giggling and he goes back to his office. So that's life at the house. So when you have a guy like my shift leader who's taking care of you, it takes away all of that stress. It takes away all of those thoughts. You're focused. We were focused on the problem. This came to fruition on a trip we took President Bush to State College, Pennsylvania. President Bush went to Penn State University, gave a speech, flew in, drove to the State College, right back. On the way there, our armored Suburban blew a tire. So now we got to transfer all of our gear, our guns, and all of our people from one truck to the other. And we did that within seconds because the shift leader started barking. He started giving orders, giving instructions like he had been there before. He was prepared. And we listened to exactly what he told us. And we did that within seconds. And I remember thinking back, man, we flew. There were 5 of us that day. It felt like there were 10 of us that day. And we just hopped. We just hopped. He was fantastic. He was a great leader. Another one followed him, my next shift leader. I'm at the house, assigned to President Bush. I was assigned to President Bush for 5 years with his family. I mentioned it. I was in New Haven, Connecticut. I was assigned to his daughter, Barbara. You guys probably know Jenna, that's on TV a lot. This is the quiet one, Barbara, that didn't get arrested for underage drinking. And the very quiet one. And she went to Cancun a couple times for spring break. We did those trips. We went to Moscow, Vienna, Austria. We went around a few places. It was fantastic. Transferred down to President Bush's detail. Mountain biked with him. I snorkeled in Galapagos Islands with Mrs. Bush. We saw quite a few things, and it was fantastic. Somewhere in there, I transferred off of that shift for a year, and I got away from working midnights. And so then a year later, I came back and I had to work midnights. And this is my first, and I'm going to admit, I'm going to embarrass myself here. This is my first midnight. I cannot stay awake. I'm assigned in the White House. I'm assigned just outside their bedroom door, basically. I'm the closest guy. I'm the guy that if they have a heart attack, I'm the one that's going to come running in. I can't stay awake, but I got to be quiet. I can't TikTok it. There's no way, right? TikTok didn't even exist back then. I can't even look at my phone. I didn't even have a phone. I don't think I had a phone back then. So I'm just pacing. And I'm doing my thing, just trying to stay awake, slapping myself and doing whatever I got to do. And I sit down, had a chair. I sit down for like literally half a second. You ever do that when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you sit down for half a second and then all of a sudden it's like you fall asleep? And all of a sudden I jerk and I'm like, dude, have I been asleep for 30 minutes or half a second? And just at this very moment, perfect time, I hear on my radio that President Bush is ground floor. He's downstairs. My buddy Rob puts over the radio, hey, he's downstairs. Now, President Bush had woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning and Miss Beasley's little Scottish Terrier had the runs. So he's taking the dog down a different way, doing the Fred Flintstone, throwing her out the door, coming right back in. Well, I panicked. I'm upstairs, I'm panicking. My number one job is to run the elevator. And I run down the flight of stairs, leaving the elevator up there. I run downstairs. Just as I hit the ground floor, here comes President Bush to the elevator, or what he thinks is the elevator. And all of a sudden, my shift leader's like, hey, Booth, bring the elevator down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I got to book it up those stairs as fast as I can. I'm in my suit and tie. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I thought I was asleep a second ago. I think I'm losing my job because I thought I fell asleep. I thought he snuck past me, and I panicked. I grab the elevator. I come down. I open the door. Here's President Bush in his boxers and his T-shirt. And he's looking at me like, why in the world are you breathing so heavy? And I'm looking at him like, why in the heck are you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, dude? He gets on, says, dang dog, gets in the elevator, we get him up, we get him there. I think I'm going to lose my job. I get pushed a little bit later, come down to our down room. My shift leader's there. I'm expecting for him to just chew me out. He has absolutely no idea, and he didn't say a word. I ratted myself out. I told him. And all he does is he laughs. And he tells me a similar story that he had. I'm like, you know what? That's a dang good boss. I'll follow that guy anywhere. Let me fast forward to an assignment I had with President Bush. This is, to me, the most stressful, craziest assignment that I had. It was in Argentina. The year before, President Bush attends a conference. It's called the Summit of the Americas. It's every president from North, Central, and South America get together for a 2-day conference. They'd gone to Chile in 2004, the year before. They had a full-on brawl. This hit national news. You might have remembered this. When President Bush is trying to walk into the main event, the security guys have a miscommunication, something. Our guys are in a full-on fist fight trying to get into this event. One of our security, our boss had to come back and reach over these security agents to grab President Bush, to bring him through, to grab our detail leader, our supervisor. And you watch on camera, President Bush walks in, he's chuckling. You can hear him, you can see him chuckle. And you can just see in his eyes, the wheels are turning because he's going to bust his butt later. He's going to push his buttons. He's going to make fun of that agent later. He's going to be like, I almost missed you on that one, huh, buddy? You can just see it. So now fast forward. And it got ugly. Guys were embarrassed. The Chilean security guys were embarrassed. They were upset. Now fast forward a year later, we're in Argentina. And the marching orders to us was, hey, we cannot repeat what we had last year. We cannot do that. So I show up. I meet my Argentinian counterparts. We put together our game plan. 2 weeks later, President Bush shows up. We get him. We go, hey, we cannot repeat this. We get him in. We got to get him in the first day and through the lobby. He comes in. We got to get him from the entrance point across the lobby floor into this room. He's going to meet with the Argentinian president. Comes in, all is well. We get him about halfway across that lobby floor, and the Argentinian press break ranks. They come sprinting across the floor. The security guys break bad. Guess what we got? We got an all-out brawl in the lobby of that hotel, and it's getting ugly. I got an Argentinian, and I can't remember if he was press or security. I got him up against the wall, and I am so angry. I'm like, dude, we talked about this for 2 weeks, and ready to just unload my frustrations. And all of a sudden, I feel this big hand on my shoulder. It's my boss. And he says, Derek, we're all set. President's in the room. Let him go. We're good. I let him go. We're good. He does his thing. We get him to the conference room. Next day, they got two different sessions. They're going to be in conference for like 8 hours that day with a break in between for lunch. They go to lunch. They're across the hallway or across the road to have this lunch. They're coming in. We got Hugo Chavez from Venezuela, by the way, in the room, who Nicolas Maduro succeeded. And ugly things with Chavez even then. Things are starting to break bad between Venezuela and America. So the stress level is very high. They're supposed to come back very easy from lunch. I can hear the radio traffic. Hey, they're coming. I can see down around the corner the motorcade route where they're supposed to be coming in. And all of a sudden, I see all the presidents walking. They're walking right down the middle of the road, which was not supposed to happen. I'm like, dude, this is not going to be good. And they're taking their sweet time. And what should have been a 2-minute arrival point now turns into like a 25-minute wait for these guys to get out of the way. We get him in the room, get him situated. My boss and I, we sit in the room. We're sitting like a chair behind President Bush and his group in this room, super quiet. It's like church, right? You cannot speak. You're not supposed to say anything. You can't do anything. My boss turns to me, who I didn't know very well, but I got to know him real well here. He said, Derek, did you know I'm from LA? And he has this very southern, thick accent. I said, no, sir, I did not know you're from LA. He goes, yeah, I'm from Lower Alabama. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, Lower Alabama. And then he says to me, Derek, I'm going to be very careful here how I word this because I promised my daughter I would be very proper. He says to me, have you ever seen two goats have sexual intercourse? I said, no, sir, I have not seen two goats have sexual intercourse. He's like, well, it is something to see. Let me tell you. And once you see that, it's hard to get it out of your head. But it's nothing compared to what I witnessed outside. That was the biggest cluster I've ever seen in my life. It was insane. This place is crazy. And I started chuckling as loud as I could in church, as quietly as I could. And we finish the meeting. We leave. We get President Bush situated. We get him on his way. He's good to go. That taught me a lot with him. It taught me we are stressed out of our eyeballs. We've got bad intel from other countries coming at us. We've got fistfights in the lobby. We've got goats outside. We've got all kinds of things going on. Stay calm. Go easy. Go chill. And he set the tone for all the rest of us. And we did. We chilled out because he told us to and because he set the example. For the 27 years I've been here, I've had good, bad, and ugly leadership. The good, in my mind, the best, the people listen. The leader listens. They're calm and they sacrifice for their people. When they take care of their troops take care of them. And it grows exponentially and it snowballs. Just like we talked earlier in the cyber panel. When we take care of our cyber health and we use good cyber hygiene and we pass that on to others, guess what? That just grows and grows and grows and grows. Let me go back to the very first day I came on this job. I started the job in New York City in 7 World Trade Center. Go back to 9/11. 9/11, first one World Trade Center's on the north side. It falls down, falls into 7 World Trade Center and burns all day long. About 4 o'clock that afternoon, it falls down. That was where our New York field office was. So on March 15th, 1999, I walk into this building and I've got my trench coat, I got my suit and tie, got my Johnson & Murphy shoes, I've got my Ray-Bans. I think I'm gonna be Clint Eastwood. And I am super excited to be here. I walk in, there's 8 other brand new agents. Walk in, our boss, he reads us the riot act right from the get-go. He stands up in front of the room. He's got this barrel chest. He's got more starch in his shirt than I knew even existed. And this guy's intimidating. And the way he's talking to us is a little brash, a little vulgar. But I'm like, dang, this guy's got my respect. He's intimidating. I'm going to make sure I live up to his standards. That was the first day. And he explains, hey, you guys are going to be here for 2 weeks. Then you're going to go to training for 6 months. You're going to come back. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. If you make any mistakes, just come see me. I'm good. You'll be good. Well, the 4th day, that was Monday. On Thursday night, I have to call him. I come home to a voicemail saying, Derek, your wife is being life flighted from southern Utah to Salt Lake City, 300 miles away. You need to get to Salt Lake City as quick as you can. I'm like, dude, it's 7 o'clock in the evening in Connecticut. How am I supposed to do that? So I got to call my boss, explain the situation. I got to call this guy. And I'm thinking, this guy is going to chew me out. He's going to hate me. He's going to kill me. He's going to do something. I call him. I explain who I am. He says to me, Derek, I can hear the panic in your voice. Chill. Do you need money? I'll pay for your flight. Guess what? My perception of that guy changed 180 degrees. And the next thing I started thinking was, man, I need to do everything I can to impress that guy. I will follow that guy through fire. I did. I made the trip to Salt Lake the next day, got there. Our daughter was born. She didn't survive the next day. My wife made it through recovery, no problem. That opened the door for my other 3 kids. That caused a chain reaction of great things that happened. The service did for me and my family, especially from that boss. He reached out. He reached out later when I was in training. He reached out to my wife, sent agents to my house to make sure my wife was okay. And I was like, dang, that's good. That's a good leader. That's the difference between those leaders I'm talking about. Let me back, and we're going to finish this because Amy brought up suicide. Let me start going back to my father. My father was a good, a bad, and an ugly leader. My father was great to the community. He was great to my sister. He was bad to my brothers and I, and he was awful to my mom. He was also ugly, but especially he was ugly to himself. My father was a great leader. He was a good family physician, did great things, did a lot of good things in the community. When he passed away, a lot of people showed up to honor him, a lot of good things. My father suffered from depression, and he suffered from bad decisions that he made along the way because he recognized he made some very poor decisions, and that caught up to him. So my first thing, and 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, he took his own life. So I bring that up because it's so close to my heart to think I never want to hear that from anybody else ever. And so, I love talking about teenage kids. Never. Just making bad decisions, I hope, never leads to that. And I hope, honestly, if anybody in this room has any problems with that, please seek counseling, seek help, find the things you need, talk to the people. There are people out there that will listen to you. But that taught me, and that's where I came with this talk, with this presentation. There is good, bad, and ugly. It's out there, but we can always overcome that good. We can be the good leaders. You're sitting here thinking, like, you're probably asking yourself, well, I'm not a leader. I'm not in a position of authority. And I can just get up here and tell you of hundreds of people I've met over these 27 years that were never in positions of authority, but they were the greatest leader in the room. Because they were the greatest person, because they listened, because they sacrificed, and because they stayed calm in moments of crisis. So I hope that's what we get out of this. I hope we all walk in here, maybe a little bit of a leader with thoughts of maybe something we can do better. And that's my thought. I know we're going to take some questions. Yeah. And I apologize if I offended you with my biologically appropriate language about those goats. Okay.
I should have explained that Derek is a little bit early.
Sorry.
Quite me.
That's the way my biology teacher explained it to me.
Any questions for Derek about his time or leadership?
Hold on.
Gotcha.
I know you're still on board with the organization, so if you can't answer, that's fine. Who is your favorite president to work for? So to actually, provide a certain camera. No pressure.
The camera's on. What I did miss, I'm going to go back and answer now, and then I'll answer Chad's question. When I called myself the Forrest Gump, I was always assigned to the person that lost the election. In 2000, I was assigned to Joe and Hadassah Lieberman, the senator from Connecticut. In 2004, I was assigned to President Bush when he was in office, so that one doesn't count. 2008, I was assigned to Sarah Palin and John McCain. 2012, I was assigned to Mitt Romney. 2016, I did more events with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and a couple with Donald Trump. 2020 was a wash because that was COVID. Nobody ran. Thank goodness, saved our behinds. And then 2024, I was assigned more to Kamala and Joe Biden than anybody. So if you wanted someone to run for president and you want them to lose, call and say, hey, we want Derek on this assignment. So that's your deal. I'm gonna go with George W. I mean, that's who I spent the most time with. Fantastic person. He was just in he was in Colorado Springs. I'm losing track of time. We're in January, right? When was that? In October. He came to the Broadmoor, spoke. He is funny as all can be. I mean, he had me rolling, and I was stage left, and I wasn't supposed to laugh. But I'm like, I'm close to retirement. I can laugh. They'll kick me out. Fantastic person. His whole family. Mrs. Bush, fantastic. Some of the things we saw them do, and I can't talk about a lot of things. A lot of the events they went to around the country, they would give speaking events, but they would always meet with either victims, military victims, Gold Star families from either Iraq or Afghanistan, or back in his time, there were some disasters like West Virginia had a mine collapse or an explosion or something. I'm drawing a blank, but I remember being there, and I remember him talking to these families of victims. And to listen to him talk and Mrs. Bush talk to these families, man, it was pretty impressive. I mean, these guys, and you're talking like you're expecting just a superficial, quick handshake and out the door. No, it was, hey, let's spend some time, hug, get to know the family, kind of counseling and empathy. So I'm gonna go with W. Fantastic mountain bike rider. He still rides even today a little bit. He used to ride back then, and he was hardcore. He was actually kind of a jerk. He would get angry at us. He'd yell at us if we passed him. We couldn't pass him. You had to stay behind him. And I was at Camp David with him once, and they invited, it wasn't him that invited him, and I'm going to get in trouble if this goes anywhere. It was the president, I want to say like Denmark or something like that, and he said he could ride. Well, Bush gets up there, and within maybe 10 minutes, he just dusts him, just leaves him just leaves him. And Camp David's like trails like here in Colorado, like single track trails, right? And he just dusts him, just leaves him. And we came pulling back to the house at Camp David there, and the president is angry. He's angry at his staff, whoever invited this guy. Because he's like, you better make sure that guy can ride next time. And he storms off. He probably threw his bike at the guy and went to the house. So anyway, fantastic mountain bike guy. We had a lot of fun. Yes, ma'am.
So you get stationed somewhere like military, and then they send you somewhere else, and then your family goes somewhere else, or how does that work?
So we call it we have 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 is your first office, and you're there for anywhere from 4 to 6 years. And I was in New Haven, Connecticut, and that's what I did. You're there to help protection, and then also you do investigations like some of the financial crimes we were talking about with Travis and cybercrime. So we would do that for 4 to 6 years. Then you get assigned what we call phase 2. That's when you're assigned to the president, the vice president, one of the former presidents. Former presidents receive protection for life. So there's guys right now on, President Obama, President Clinton, President Bush, President Biden. Those guys have, Jimmy Carter passed away not too long ago. There was somebody with him from 1970. He got out of office in 81 when Reagan was elected. From 81 until he passed away last year, there was somebody with him. So guys will go and they put in for it and you go. And then phase 3 is you get a little bit more flexibility. You can now kind of the world opens up to you. You can go back out into the field. Like that's where I am right now. I'm in the Denver field office. Or you can stay in Washington, D.C. and go to training or go to one of our headquarter assignments. I chose to come out here in 07. I came out, one thing I missed is I came out for the Democratic National Convention. That was here at the Pepsi Center, which is now Ball Arena in 08. That was my first assignment. That's what brought me here. I was in charge of that assignment. So the roads got closed back then. That's not my fault. I didn't authorize that. But anyway, that's what we do. So I chose to just lay low. I have kind of an unusual career track because I just laid low. I didn't want to bounce. I stayed here. My kids were in a good position. We had some great basketball teams with Sam. Accomplished a lot. So I didn't want to go anywhere. So that's the way we go.
So if you're following a president, you're based out of DC, and you just follow.
If you're assigned to that person, like the president, yeah, you live in DC and you report to the White House every day, and that's usually a 6 to 8 year assignment. If you're not that guy, you're one of us out here in the field. We support them. So we could get a call. Like we've got agents all over the country right now with President Trump. I could say he just came back from Mar-a-Lago. So he was in Mar-a-Lago for Christmas, and Zelensky from Ukraine, and somebody just came to see him. Now I'm drawing a blank. Netanyahu from Israel. Sorry, they came to meet with him there. We had other agents there assigned. They go do a temporary assignment. Right, they're there for 5 days, 6 days, however long it takes, and then they come home. So I could get a call tomorrow and say, hey, we need you in Mar-a-Lago. We need you in Italy or England or wherever he decides to go, just to supplement that security.
Yes. And since Butler, did you say that you guys are 30% more overworked now than ever?
So Butler changed the whole dynamic of us. And in those 18 months, we have just they hit the gas and nobody's letting up. And some of that is the nature of President Trump and Vice President Vance. They travel like crazy. But a lot of that is we're still trying to figure things out. We're trying to implement more security. We don't want Butler to happen again, right? It just made us look bad that day, and we almost failed. So we don't want to repeat that. So yeah, so our manpower is just being pressed dramatically. Yeah.
Let's let everyone meet. Derek, give everyone
It's Nick. What was your basketball record? We were 10-0 in 1 year. We lost in the semifinals at 1 point. Sorry.
I was the assistant coach. So anyway, Derek's the man. I appreciate y'all being here. We're gonna open up the food. I appreciate our team for being here and all the preparations they've done. We've got a great team, as you can see. I really appreciate you all coming out and attending, and we've got it videotaped, so we'll probably post it somewhere and someone can watch 3 hours of their life flash by. Anyway, I want to thank everybody that was panelists too. We've got a great crew here, so go eat, leave whenever you want. I don't know, maybe Amy might tell us we need to leave sooner, but I appreciate it. If you have questions, ask someone that spoke today. Thank you. Eat all the food you want. Go eat.